Hi, I'm Michael Schachter, President of the Carolina Nature Coalition, and I want to thank a few people. I want to thank Public Radio East for being our media sponsor. They put it on their calendar. I definitely want to thank the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of New Bern that provides this venue here where we can do it in person and online, Zoom. I want to thank Tom Shoup, our technical person, and our secretary of the Carolina Nature Coalition, and Connie Casey, who always provides us with the food and shirts. There are shirts available for purchase in the back there, and is our communications director. So I want to thank everybody here for coming, those who are here and those who will come in late. My wife Melissa and I would take our miniature poodle, Caesar Spartacus, who we call CC, to Lawson Creek Park, where we would meet the community of feral cats and the woman who takes care of them, one of our presenters. She also helped us get our 3 rescue indoor-outdoor cats fixed and neutered. Trap, neuter, and release, TNR, is controversial. And to be clear, the Carolina Nature Coalition as an organization does not either support or oppose this process. There are some questions about its effectiveness, safety, and some environmental organizations worry about wildlife. All this is a good reason to have this presentation. And so, I will give you our presenters. Pam Schiller, a retired CCS, I assume that's Craven County Schools, physical education teacher, and the manager of the Lawson Creek Cat Colony, and Kim Hall, a retired nurse and a founding member of the Derby Cats. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. It's your turn now. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'm Pam Schiller, and I retired from teaching in 2014, and I fell into Lawson Creek. I went up there one afternoon, and I seemed like hundreds of cats up there, and they were all over the picnic area bothering the people, and I didn't know what to do, and I was devastated. And so I got a hold of Kim and about 5 other people that understood. I didn't know what TNR was at that point, and I got a hold of some of my friends, and they all swooped in with me. And when we started, there were 107 cats up there. A lot of them had to be euthanized because they were sick from interbreeding, because none of them were spayed and neutered. And so I called in my fellow trappers, and we went in and we stabilized that. Actually, first we got permission from Foster Hughes, the rec director, to go in and stabilize that colony. We explained to him at that point that you're not going to rectify this problem with trap and kill, because as long as I've lived in New Bern, that's the process up at Lawson Creek. They would go in every few months and gather them up and then euthanize them. And the problem isn't the cats that are up there. The problem is the people that dump them up there. That's a dumping ground for cats. And so, for instance, in the 8 years that I've been up there with the colony, there's been 117 additional cats and kittens that have been dumped up there. But you won't see that many because I manage the colony. There's only 20 up there. And so back to the beginning, we all went in. We had several types of traps, box traps, true catch traps, nets. And we went in and we got all the young ones that were still friendly and they were be able to be tamed. We got them out of there and we sent them to rescue, and we found places for them to go. And then the 20 that are left up there, they were not adoptable. They were semi-feral or feral. And we also told Foster that that we were going to manage the colony. So I go up there twice a day and I feed them. They have, which you can't see up there, but they have shelters. They have clean water. I feed them twice a day. I don't leave food. The only thing I leave for them, which is hidden, is water. And then these cats know the certain times that I go up there. And from 8 to 9 in the morning, you'll start to see them come out. And I pull up, I honk the horn, and then they all come. And that's the colony by the bathrooms. There's 14 there. And then in the woods, there's a colony of 6, and they're off the pier in the woods. And if you don't know where they are, you don't know about them, because they only come out at feeding times. Or right before feeding times, they'll sit on the railing of the pier to wait for me. And then I call them, and they all come. They all have names. Now, all of these cats are altered and vaccinated. And if any cat gets sick or injured and I have to retrap it to take it to a vet, and I will, they automatically get revaccinated. And then Kim came up a couple years ago, it was last year, and helped me. We trapped as many as we possibly could to revaccinate them. They don't bother the wildlife. Now, the only thing I've seen these cats get, I've seen a couple of them bring me big rats. I've also seen, I think they're called mockingbirds that swoop down on them. I've seen them defend themselves. They turn around and try to grab the bird, but most of the time they run from them. I've had cardinals eat out of a bowl right next to the cats that are eating, so they don't prey on them because they're not hungry. And like I said, it's a managed colony. And so when we do Trap-Neuter-Return, it's called Trap-Neuter-Vaccinate-Return now, we won't go into an area unless we know that the cats are going to be managed, because there's no need to just go in and randomly alter animals and then they just run and they don't eat, because that's when they get sick, if they're not fed and not managed. And, so we usually don't go in. But my colony, like I said, there's only 20, and I've had more dumped up there. As a matter of fact, I just got 3 kittens and a young cat out of there 3 weeks ago. And I kept the young one. She's probably about 5 months old. And the 3 are in foster right now, and they're going to go to rescue at the end of August. So we try to find homes for them. We try to find rescues for them if possible. And if they're not able to be tamed and they're already wild, because they don't just walk up on their own, they're dumped up there. The colony will not allow any cats to come into the area. They set up a perimeter. So if a cat is up there by the bathrooms, then they've been dumped, because they just won't let them in. Once a colony is formed, and they have a hierarchy, they have a patriarch, a matriarch, and then the worker bees. And so they manage the area, and they don't let others in. Like I said, one was dumped up there about 3 months ago, and he's friendly to me now, but in the beginning I thought he was feral, so I got him altered and then put him back out there, and he's in with the colony now. He managed to stay. But overall, they won't let them come up into the colony. But that's my success story with Lawson Creek cats. It was a mess when I got up there, and actually people come up there and they bring their kids, and I have a lady that comes from Raleigh and brings her mom just to see the cats, and people, they'll donate money and food for me, because this all comes out of my pocket. So whatever I get from the people that they come up and visit and see the cats, and they give me money, or they give me a bag of cat food for them, But that's my managed colony at Lawson Creek, and that's my success story. And this was one of my big right arm when I started. So I'm going to let her share. She's a TNR expert right here, Kim. Yeah, you are. So.
Really and truly, when it comes down to TNR, Pam's colony is the prime example. It is a gorgeous thing to see those cats come out and run to her to eat, and she stays for like 20 minutes maybe. They eat, they go back and do their thing, and they're not bothering the people in the park now. Before, we had lots of complaints about the cats going up to people that were doing picnics and things, and they were begging for food, but they don't do that now. So, and we want them to have a healthy fear of humans, so they stay away from them, because sometimes humans are not very nice. So there's that. But as far as trap, neuter, and return goes, I did not even know that was a thing until Hurricane Florence hit. And when it hit, we had cats coming out of every crevice that you can possibly imagine. we had people coming in and were like, I've got 20 cats, and they brought 20 cats to the storm shelter that Colonial Capital had set up for us to be able to help during that time. And I was like, I cannot believe people have this many animals, and most of them were not spayed and neutered. So it was a real eye-opener, and a lot of them were sick. So that's kind of where I learned about TNR and how I got started. And that's when we started the Derby Cats of New Bern group. And we started doing all of the Derby Park area because that's where I live. And we've kind of branched out a little bit from there. And now I've been pulling from different areas of the county, trying to help and do what I can, where I can. And it depends on the money, the finances. If people are willing to pay to get their cats spayed and neutered, you know, we're all there trying to help. We'll try to work out a deal where if you help us trap, you know, then we can come and get the cat, take care of it, get it fixed, and return it. So we try to work out where the homeowner or property owner contributes a little bit to the process in some way. If they can't help financially, you know, give us a little bit of labor in this process. So we'll ask that a lot of times. We have raised some money doing Facebook and things like that, but as far as donations go, that's getting to be slim right now. I think the economy's got a lot to do with it. So as far as what I wanted to present for you guys was the basic knowledge of the shelter situation, the rescues, and the nonprofits. And I know a lot of you hear about this because there'll be posts on social media about our shelter's full, we're at code red status. You know, we've got animals coming in, people begging to bring animals in. And in those situations in eastern North Carolina, that means those animals are going to get euthanized. And we are the third highest kill in North Carolina. I mean, not in North Carolina, but in the nation, the third highest. And it vacillates between first, second, and third is usually what we've seen in the last few years that we've been doing this. I think things have really changed economically, and for the people that are in rented living space, apartments, trailers, things like that, and they're getting evicted, their animals are getting evicted too, wherever they end up going. They're not allowed to take their animals because most apartment complexes are not allowing that, especially the newer ones, or they're living in their cars. And believe it or not, we have a lot of people living in cars in New Bern, North Carolina. I mean, you wouldn't think that, but there are a lot of people living in cars. Some bring their animals with them, and some take their animals and let their animals loose in the parking lot. Lawson Creek. On a back road in Cove City. On a back road in Vanceboro. I mean, it happens all the time. I had one lady call, say, some car just drove through my farmland and they dumped out 7 cats. So by the time she got a carrier and got back to try to get the cats, they had scattered. So she got what she could, but that's another colony that's going to form. So taking the cats and dumping them is not the answer either. They can't survive out there like that. And if they do survive, then you're going to have 100 cats before you realize what's happened. So as far as shelters and rescues go, they are over capacity. And our very own shelter here in Craven County is at that situation right now. They're trying so hard to not euthanize. They really have put a lot of work into transferring all those friendly, lovable, adoptable animals out to other rescues. We sent 80 cats to New York fairly recently, to the Best Friends Society. There's North Shore is taking cats. There's dog rescues we've sent all over the place. She'll post frequently for transporters to transport animals for us. So they really are working hard, and I've never seen that from our county shelter before. So I have to give them a lot of pats on the back and hurrahs because they really are trying. Part of that is that they have brought in a group called the Best Friends Society to help evaluate what's going on at our county shelter, all the numbers and all of the political leaders, the community, everyone really, just to get some input of what to do. And John Graves is with the society. He's a regional director. So he's been working that angle and talking to different folks about what they can offer and how they can help us. They just completed this process in Onslow County. So Jacksonville is now doing TNR from the shelter. It's not just individual people, it's a program from the shelter. And Adoption First, I believe, is doing the majority of the spay and neuters, and I'm sure they're using a couple of the other low-cost clinics, but they're a good drive away. So that is going on. As far as the nonprofit conditions, I talked to you a little bit about what the economy is doing, and funds are kind of hard to come by right now. So if we can get this Best Friends Society to sign on with us, and we've agreed that we will help administer the program as volunteers. We're not paid, no one's paid. This is just something we do because we see it as a problem and we want to make it better. But if we do this, they're willing to donate funds for our spay and neuters. And that's desperately needed. One of the other things that's desperately needed is a low-cost spay-neuter clinic in our area. I think that's another reason why people don't have their pets spayed and neutered, is because there's nowhere to go to get it done at a low cost. And when I say low cost, I mean $50, $60 for a cat. That's even high to me for a feral cat. In Greensboro, you can get it done for $10. And they do for military for free. So we got a long ways to go because our local vets are charging $350 to $400. And I realized that they have their education and they've got to pay their student loans or whatever, and their insurance and their supplies and staff. But we need our local vets to help us with this. We're not asking them to do them all, just a little, once a month, put in a few hours of work and do some spay and neuters for us. That would be really, really nice. So we're hoping that will happen. We're going to work on it and we'll see where we get. And then we're going to do the best that we can do with what we have. So right now in the United States, there is between 6 to 8 million animals in the animal shelters, and 3 to 4 million get euthanized or have been euthanized. I think this is based on 2023 data. And about 2.7 million of the ones that are euthanized are considered healthy and adoptable animals. So it's not just cats that we have a problem with, it's also rabbits, ferrets, and dogs. So just think about that for a minute. If it was just the cats, then yeah, maybe a lot of people don't want the cats to stay and don't want to keep it as a pet. But we've gotten rabbits that have been just turned loose. So they're not spayed and neutered either, by the way. So whatever breeder you go to get them from, yeah, that's a good question you should ask. So healthy and adoptable, 2.7 million killed. So in North Carolina, why are we the second highest? Number one is the lack of the low-cost spay and neuter. Number two is the lack of resources. Our shelters have been put on hold for years as far as funding goes. A lot of the shelters don't even have a vet to be the director of the shelter. So when you don't have a vet in there helping to make changes and research and do things in an appropriate way, then we're going to start to run into problems, and that's what we're seeing now. Another reason for all the numbers, and I'm rambling. So, it tells me, based on this, it's a WRAL documentary that was done in 2023, and it listed in 2021, North Carolina was the second highest in the nation, and right now we're third. It'll probably go up for 24 is my guess. And the shelters during 2023 took in 120,500 animals in 23. That's going to be huge this time around, I think. And looking through some of the other data, one of the areas that had started a TNR program, that shelter had taken in 388 feral cats. I'm not counting the ones that were friendly that got surrendered and for whatever reasons I got pregnant or I don't have a home anymore. But the 388 feral cats that came in that year, if they're feral, they got euthanized. They started their TNR, and this year only 3 came in because they were working their TNR program really hard, and they had some funding to help do that. So that's what we hope to accomplish here. As far as the cost goes, euthanasia, our taxpayer dollars pay for that. You have to pay for the drug. You have to pay for the security of the drug, the control of the drug, because it's got to stay locked up. You got to be careful about how it's dispensed, blah, blah, blah. Only the vet can give it. And then the animals that get euthanized, they have to be incinerated. If you put those animals out, then you've got people coming and taking the animals trying to get the drug out, because the drug goes into the heart. And when they're making their street drugs, they're using those drugs too. So in some areas, you've had a lot of people die from drug overdose, and that's the reason. A lot of times, not just fentanyl, but they have gone to using the vet medications too. So you can Google that. There's tons of information about it. It's very interesting. And then just thinking about the cost of having to maintain those records and it coming out of your pocket versus a no-kill policy, which no-kill means at least 80 to 90% of your population coming in should be able to go back out into adoptable areas or into a feral colony, that they came from. So once we reach that point with our program, then we can call ourselves a no-kill facility. Does that make sense? Because you're going to have animals coming in that are very, very sick or injured and that can't be saved. And so you want to be able to offer euthanasia for those situations. So TNR, how did we get here? How did this all start? It started in England, actually. England was having problems with all their cats and the population getting to be more and more and more. And they started out doing the males, and then they realized that we're not making any progress here. We need to do the females too. So they started doing the females too, and their numbers really went down. When you only do one gender, the cats have this way of procreating. I don't know what you call it, but it seems like they can have larger litters and more of a certain gender when there's that kind of unbalance in the environment. So that is one thing that we did learn from Best Friends Society, because we first started out doing we did about 300 males, I think, with our previous director at the shelter. We could get our males done at a discounted rate because he had a little bit of funding. So we got our males done for $25 apiece. So all of us that were practicing TNR were allowed to take the males in to get them done. It only takes 5 minutes for the surgery for a male cat. So we were able to get a lot done, but then we were begging for females to be done because we have to drive to a clinic that will do a female cat for us. And that's going to be anywhere. I think one of the facilities was charging $125 if the cat was pregnant. Well, if you got a female cat and it's not fixed, it's going to be pregnant. So we do spay and abort. And the reason we do that is because there's just so many. You just don't have a choice. You've got to stop the problem, and the only way to do it is to get them fixed. And if they happen to be pregnant when you get a feral cat, you don't want to take care of a feral cat and continue to care for them 5 or 6 weeks while they're having their kittens and trying to wean the kittens. It's just not safe. One, that cat is not vaccinated for rabies. So we do sometimes, if they're about ready to deliver, we will keep them and let them have their litter. But it's very hard to do, and it's not really safe to do. So to transition to a no-kill facility, like I said, we've got to get down to 80 to 90% of the cats are getting fixed and going back out. Otherwise, we would have at least 500 cats this year being euthanized. At least. And if we can do this and decrease the numbers coming into the shelter, then the mental health and well-being of our workers at the shelter will also improve. And then we will have room for people who truly do need to surrender cats or dogs or whatever. Pam talked about the managed colonies. This is the way to go. If you can manage a colony, that's what you need to do, because the cats get the care that they need. We get to see who's coming to eat, so we know who's been fixed, who hasn't been fixed, who's not feeling well, who might be sick enough that they need to be euthanized or injured to the point that they need to be euthanized. But overall, the colony is kept healthy, and you know what's going on with each cat. And like she said, they all have names, and she knows every single one of them. I don't know how, but she does. So that's what we're kind of working towards. It's just a little brief explanation of kind of what we're doing and hoping to do and why it's such a problem. What questions do you guys have?
Wait a second. One second, let me get.
I have a lot of questions, but I'll start with you.
The people online can't hear unless we do it on the microphone.
Okay, does this work?
Yeah.
Okay. In 1986, my husband and I worked at a resort in the British Virgin Islands, and we worked with people from Tufts University and started a trap, neuter, and release program for cats on the island, because people have a tendency to come on liveaboard sailboats or anything else, or come for a vacation and leave them behind. We were able to do this with veterinary students, and I have often wondered if there is some law or some regulation that prevents it, because what they did was Tufts created of course we provided room and board in a beautiful place in the world. But they brought down, for 3 weeks in a row, they brought down 5 or 6 or 10 students a week. Those students operated in our
All day
conference
long.
room all day long. We did over,
And that's
I
stressful.
think, 300 or
on-
400 cats in 3 weeks. But
It's
it was
stressful.
because they were students. And is that not allowed here? Could we not bring in students?
The only thing with a student, veterinary student, is what year they're in of their program. They need to be close to graduation, but they have to be supervised by a veterinarian. They have to be at the table where the surgery is being performed. So you've got your regular veterinarian is tied up supervising the surgery that student is doing.
But the professors wouldn't be willing to do that? The professors wouldn't be willing to do that
Well,
with?
our vet school is in Raleigh, and right now, Raleigh, they don't have enough students to handle their regular clinic cases that are coming in. So their clinic is run as if it's a regular vet office.
Because we
and-
had one vet and maybe 8 or 10 students operating at the same time.
Wish.
Yeah, I would
If they
love
come
that. I
through.
really would.
Yeah.
We did do one this past summer. We were able to get some cats in. I think it was maybe about 20 cats we were able to do because one of our veterinarians had injured himself. And he brought another student in that had graduated but hadn't gotten a job yet. And so she wanted more surgery experience. So she came up here and did those 20 cats for us. We still had to pay for them, but we did at least have
Low, though, those
that
costs, yeah.
here that was local for us to get some done. So, yeah, it would be nice if we could do that. And I think that's something that would have to go through the state and get some changes to the law, maybe.
Yes, I'm Melissa Schachter, Mike Schachter's wife. I know Pam very well. We have 3 rescue cats, Ebon. Pam did Ebon 5 years ago. She did Liddy 4 years ago, and she did Samaj 2 years ago. It was $50 then. I don't know what it is now, but that was a blessing.
And see,
Because
yeah.
we tried where we take them for their medical care to Craven Animal Hospital. We've always been there for over 20 years, and it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And they're right, it's about $300 or $400 for one cat, male or female.
And
So
there's
I thank you, girl. I
You're
thank you,
welcome.
ladies, for all that you do.
And
You're
there are
welcome.
I
about,
appreciate you.
there are about 35 managed cat colonies in New Bern and Craven County that you're not aware of all of them because like we don't leave food out. We feed them, we give them 30 minutes to eat, and we pick everything up. And there's a lady she couldn't be here tonight because she's sleeping right now because she'll get up at 12:30 at night and she goes out at 1 o'clock and feeds over 100, these cats are altered, 100 cats in 28 areas between New Bern and she goes into Bridgeton too. We have another lady that feeds a colony in Bridgeton behind the blueberry field. And she does all that on her own. And it's, the thing about trap-neuter, we call it Trap-Neuter-Vaccinate-Return now.
Get closer to the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the thing about trap-neuter-return as opposed to trap and kill is you don't have the manpower with the animal control to gather up all these cats because a female can get pregnant 3 times a year. A male cat can reproduce up to 50 times a day. So your animal control people cannot keep up and go in, and especially if they're feral, it's very hard to catch the ferals. I mean, we have to have all kinds of tricks and food and different types of things to get these cats to go in a trap. So the trap and kill doesn't solve the problem. The best thing you can do right now with the issues we have here in Craven County is to get as many as we can altered and stop the bleeding and get these colonies managed so that they're fed and they don't go off somewhere and get into the trash cans and kill the wildlife for food. I have a porch cat that has been in my neighborhood for years reproducing, and now she's spayed. She doesn't go anywhere. She doesn't kill any birds. She eats. I pick the food up. It goes in at night. And she's there in the morning waiting for breakfast. And we just don't leave food out because of we don't want to draw attention to other animals.
And also, I wanted to state that when we got Liddy done, Pam kept Liddy at her house and took care of her for a week before she brought him home.
Yeah, we don't release them right away because once you release them, it's hard to retrap them. So especially the females, if they get, their incision gets infected, we can't retrap them always. So it's best to hold on to them, make sure everything's good before they go. And they're fully vaccinated when they leave us.
Yeah, and I think we were being cautious too with holding on to them for a week. But some of the cats that are really advanced in their pregnancy, that we're doing the surgery on, they will have a larger incision. So our vets are saying on their record, if you can contain them for so many days, to please do that. And also, if we've got a cat that is in heat when we go to get them spayed, they want us to hold on to them a little bit longer if possible, because those hormones are still elevated and the male cats are still going to be attracted to mate with them, and they can mess those cats up on the inside. So
Pam, when you were talking about the drugs for killing, when they euthanize, do we know what the cost is for that?
I did not write that down.
I'm just curious, when you
it's-
talk to, government officials, I mean, if it's not a big difference and the killing is not solving the problem, you would think they'd be more inclined to try to get somebody to.
Yeah,
so
I
we
think
can
if
get
we can
low-cost
attach
spay and
some
neuter.
cost to it, that opens eyes, especially when
Right.
we're presenting to the county commissioners and things like that. And Dr. Osler has done a presentation to them. So I think when people understand that a little bit better, because keeping up with those drugs is just like keeping up with your narcotics that you take for pain.
Well, and like you said, the people that have to do that, it's a
It's
mental
hard
health
on
issue,
them mentally and physically too. It's not something people enjoy doing at all. It really isn't. So I think the best part about it would be just being there with the animal and trying to comfort it as best you can. But that's hard. I was a nurse. I've done that with people plenty of times. So I've seen when folks passed and been there and helped them and worked through that, and it takes its toll on you. Don't go to him until the end.
Well, we're talking about colonies here, but I have 3 cats and 2 of them were feral that are now semi-feral, which means you can't get them to the vet for anything, but they live in my house. But the problem is with individuals. I just had a friend that had a feral cat show up, and she sort of tamed it to the point of feeding it. It took her months to get a vet who would even agree to make an appointment to neuter and spay the cat. They didn't know what it was. By the time they did, of course, she was pregnant. This cat cost us individual between $800 and $900 by the time everything got finished, because she couldn't find who to call. She called all around, who to call, who to ask, who is willing to do this, where can I take her?
Now, the Humane Society and also CPAS may have, because we have resources that we tell people adoption first in Jacksonville, and then there's in Winnebago, what's the name of that?
That's Fix a Friend is in Winnebago.
Used to be Spaded in Greenville, but they closed. So when someone asks us about that, we'll give them these resources, us that work with colonies, or like I said, the Humane Society would give, they don't do it, but
Well,
they can
she
give them the
called-
resourcy.
I volunteer for the Humane Society
Okay.
2 days a week
Yeah,
in
okay.
the
Oh, good for
resale
you.
store, but she called them and got no help.
Oh, okay, well.
That's the
So-
towel lady. She volunteers in the
No.
flea market.
In the flea market, in the
Yeah.
kitchen department.
Oh,
Okay.
We have a towel lady.
Yeah, we have
You have
someone
a
that
towel
gives us
lady, well, I'm
towels.
not
Yes,
the towel
and-
lady. But
All the ones that are stained or
Yeah.
torn or whatever that we
But,
get.
I mean, that was the first thing I said. I said, call the Humane Society, and she got no help. They said, you can't, no information.
The
So
Humane
where-
Society, for whatever their reasons are, they chose not to get in the middle of TNR.
Well, this wasn't even going to be TNR. She was
gonna
proposing to
keep it,
adopt
yeah.
this cat. She just needed information.
Well, now you have Derby cats.
Well, we need to have a telephone number for Derby Cats or an email address
So,
or something.
so right now, and let me just say, $800 to $900 on a cat, that's just ridiculous.
It is
Whenever
ridiculous.
you can't put food on the table or buy your personal medication, that's ridiculous.
Well, it's because she was pregnant, part of that. And it was because the first time they got her to the vet decided she wanted to do an ultrasound. I said, what's the matter? They don't know how to deal with a feral cat? You
It's
don't do an
called
ultrasound,
money.
just
They're making
operate.
money, yeah.
They're making money.
Operate.
They're upping their
And
charges.
if she's pregnant, deal with it.
Yeah.
I
they're-
want you to write down helpingcats.org. That's another organization, the lady that goes out at 12:30 in the morning, or 1 o'clock in the morning, that's her nonprofit. And you can get some resources through that organization too. And then Derby Cats with Kim, there's tons of resources that she can give you. Because they have helped me tremendously throughout the
I'll be up
years.
there later.
As far as low-cost spay-neuter for Craven County, right now, it's going to be Adoption First in Jacksonville. Dr. Patricia Deneen is excellent veterinarian. I've done a lot of cats with her. Did a lot with Spay Today. I'm disappointed that they closed their doors. But I think economy hit them too. You have to pay your vets. You got to pay them. I mean, no matter what you think, if you don't pay them, they're going to go somewhere else where they can get a better job. And a lot don't want to do surgery all day long every day. So we want a low-cost spay neuter here in New Bern. We really want that. And we've talked about where could we put it? Is it mobile? Is it stationary? How would we do it? I mean, we've gone through all of that. We've even had a couple of vets that were interested, but we've got to start having money coming in for a nonprofit to be able to support it. So maybe in time.
So now for the counterpoint. My name is Ed Toth. Closer? Okay, thanks. My name is Ed Toth, wildlife biologist, certified for half a century now. But what I have here, and we'll handouts if people would like to look at them, is some facts. And the facts are that not one, again, consensus is so weird, but not one wildlife conservation organization supports TNC.
And I
They-
don't care.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean,
really.
No, I mean, because these are people that know the business.
And what's their
And
solution?
and their solution is two things. Either, over 60 million feral cats in this country. Over 1 billion birds are killed each year by feral cats. And that doesn't include mammals, it doesn't include reptiles. And when you say that that because these cats are being fed, that yours maybe, but in the majority, a feral cat will kill whether it has a full stomach or not.
And we need them to kill.
No.
We need them to kill the mice,
No,
the rats, the
actually,
snakes.
Actually, the data shows that in many cases, what they're killing more often is the native species and not the rats or the mice, because, let me finish my part. Because wildlife are not ready for cats. Cats are officially, in this country, considered an invasive species. Your list says they're a natural part of the community. They're not. They're officially declared by the Wildlife Service and by Cornell University to be an invasive species. And what an invasive species is, like a feral cat, a feral hog, a Burmese python, iguana, they are a species that are introduced into a natural system and cause damage. They are not part of the natural system. So when your organization says they're part of the natural system, that is blatantly wrong.
We didn't say that.
You, right
This
here,
document, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
says
your
that.
document says it. I'm
But,
only repeating this.
I think they have become a natural part
No,
of
they're
the
not.
system.
They're called an invasive species by law. And every wildlife organization, be it the Audubon Society, be it the Cornell University, be it Fish and Wildlife Service, be it Organization of Wildlife Agencies of the country, are all opposed to your program.
But I still don't know what their solution is.
Well,
Should we
it's
walk
their-
away and let them just
No,
reproduce?
there's a solution.
Trap and kill?
Trap and kill or adoption.
I promise
No,
you.
that's the solution by the experts,
I
not
promise
by.
you, it didn't work at
I-
Lawson Creek.
Well, you've got an, you know, I
Okay,
really appreciate what you're doing there, Pam, and I really do, because what you have is a very unusual situation. You have basically an island, just like your island you were talking about. An island situation, you can control what's going on. In the middle of a forest, you cannot control it, and you're not going to be able
But
to
the people
control
are
it.
dumping them. It's not the
And
animals just
people are
going
dumping,
there.
and
Yeah.
like you
So
said,
how do we solve that? I believe so.
well, people are, actually, people are, yeah. But
Okay.
I'm saying that the solution for over 60 million feral cats are not colonies, because if you read what I said in here, I didn't say it, these are the experts, and they have literature cited. So if you want to read it and
No, I'd like
go
to.
it, or not. But you're lucky, you've got an isolated population. That's island biogeography, which you have. And I'm really proud of you that you actually did reduce the
Yeah,
population
because
from 100.
before we started up there,
Yeah.
like I said, every 6 months
Yeah.
they would come in and trap and kill.
Yep,
But it didn't stop that from happening
Right.
because it was the human being that was putting the
know,
animals there.
yeah.
Like they dump them in the woods.
that's right.
So
And that's
how do we-
one
how
of the
do-
biggest problems with any of these
Yeah, so we're blaming the
colonies.
cats for human being behavior.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
It's
they're
a
just doing
cat.
what
But
they
you
know-
did,
yeah.
you did what was right. You got rid of the ones, you euthanized them, and to say that euthanization is somehow
I didn't
wrong,
I
it's
only
not.
euthanized
I
the
didn't
sick
say it was
ones.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's important. Over 60 million feral cats. According to the data, you'd have to have between 70 and 90% of the population neutered before you'll have any impact on that
But the
population.
trap and kill hasn't reduced that.
Well,
Where?
if you do it the way it's supposed, well, in New Zealand is a good example. They have a program to remove the animals. And you're right, it's a problem it's not going to be solved by your program. It's going to have to be solved by the people just accepting that feral cats are not part of the system, that they are a very big negative impact. And for you to say that your cats don't damage or have not killed animals, I think you're probably wrong, because you don't see it. And a lot of the studies that I've seen that promoted by your organization, they say basically that it's a thinking it's right rather than knowing that it's correct in terms of data. You know, it's anecdotal. That's the word I'm looking for, anecdotal data. So, like I said, if you want to believe that what you're doing is going to what you're doing is fine. Like I said, it's a unique situation. But you think that you're going to be able to do anything to control the outbreak of feral introduced invasive species by your program, then you're pipe dreams.
So what do you propose?
I'm not proposing. You know what's they're proposing? Two things. Either adoption, bringing them in and have them adopted, or euthanized. That's the two options if you want to control a population. If you want to control the real population, there's only two.
Okay.
And it's not me that's saying that.
Okay, let me say this. If that's what you want, and you're trapping cats and bringing them in and either euthanize or adopt, they're not going to get adopted because they're feral. 99% of the time, they're going to be feral.
Well, I have a question. So I understand where you're coming from, but my question for you is, if you believe that, and I understand what you're saying, are you willing to be a part of solving the problem? Because they know that there's a lot of ferals. that are sick and are going to be euthanized. But the thing that you're talking about, I understand what you're saying, but are you willing to be the person that goes out at night and traps them to solve the problem, even if it's euthanasia?
If you're doing it at a wide... wait a second. I know we all want to be humane people, but if you're doing a widespread reduction, it's not trapping them, bringing in and euthanize them, and it's going out and killing them. Exactly, going out and killing them. Just like they do with feral pigs, just like they do with Burmese python, just like they do with the iguanas. It's a brutal, and I'm not saying I think it's a great. I've got 2 cats. My cat that I had, Goldie, for 15 years. He was my closest friend. He and I used to sit outside, drink brandy with a wild rabbit that used to join us every night. So I love cats, but I also know that there's a point where they become a problem, and there's 60 million problems out there
Okay, so
that
the
aren't going to be
birds-
solved by little colonies.
So if we kill all these cats, we won't have to worry about an overpopulation of birds?
The,
That's what I'm, that's
no,
what I'm, yeah, let me
wait a
understand
minute,
that,
wait a
because-
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. The,
Please.
Okay, overpopulate. You know what? Right now, since 1970, we've had a reduction of bird populations of 70%.
From the cats or from people?
No, in this country.
chemicals.
From,
Of which, but did I say cats? You said bird
no, I said,
overpop.
are they from
you
cats
said,
or
you
from
said a
people,
bird
or-
overpopulation. We don't. We have a population of birds that are precipitously going down. And cats, whether domestic or feral, actually, if you go to the data, are a big part of the problem. Because of, you know.
so are we.
So if
No.
we don't
Yeah.
do anything other than going out and trapping and shooting them, is what you're suggesting, right?
If you want to deal with a feral invasive species.
How long will that take?
Okay, that's a good question. What they said is your program to solve a population would take 30 years. To do the same thing through lethal means takes 3 years.
Okay, you've got to find them all though,
3
right?
years, not 30.
Are you willing as a taxpayer to pay animal control officers to go out and trap and shoot and kill these animals?
Of course.
And deal with the public's
I-
opinion of that?
I'm a professional. Professionals make hard decisions. That would be my decision.
That's your decision, it's not gonna
I-
be.
I would like to say that I can see where you're coming from, but I think you're delusional if you think an American society with the love for cats will agree to do that. I mean,
if
it's
that's the
just-
case, we'll do dogs and rabbits and
Yeah, I mean,
ferrets and
deer.
deer.
I mean, that.
And rats and
I-
snakes.
It's just not the way, it's, goes back to my poster I wanted to do, right? What's the, so with the birds, right? What's the amount that are killed by feral cats? And what's the amount of birds that are killed by flying into windows? Because I just watched a big, no, I'm serious. I just watched a
And
series on
windmills
that.
and planes and cars. Huh? Yeah, and the chemicals that kill them in the grass.
Okay, if you want the full report, these are synopsis of the ones with a little, cute little bird killed by a cat.
I
Or you-
received that.
Okay, now, or you can get the thicker one. But to answer your question, one of the studies actually breaks it down, how many are killed by automobiles, birds,
know.
how many are killed by running into windows. I forgot which study it is, but you can go through that list and you'll see it. And guess what? Cats come out way higher than being hit by cars or hitting into windows. Way higher, like, maybe a factor of, 10 or so.
So what I hear is that we can't do TNR because you don't agree with that, and we should just trap them and kill them instead. Why can't we do both?
That's what I'd like to say, is that TNR might not be the answer to all of these problems, but it is one of the answers.
Absolutely.
And I think the fact that you pointed out that a colony will not let other cats come in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kill that colony, if you eliminate
Oh, that's
that
the
colony,
vacuum effect. Yes,
another
ma'am.
one just
Mhm.
forms again.
Yeah.
It doesn't really, so
That's
you've
what
got the
happened at Lawson
choice of
Creek.
going out and shooting them, open season on cats, and you've got TNR, and you've got the normal trapping.
And then we have a
euthanize.
lot of people who have their pets that are outdoor pets.
I know, trust me, I have a cat containment fence now because
That
of
they
a
probably
neighbor.
would like to sip bourbon with too, but they're outside. They don't let them inside. They're happy outside.
And you will not be able to go out to an area and find all of them to kill them. You might kill 50, 75% of them, but the ones that are left that you didn't find, because once we start trapping, it's amazing how these cats know what's going on, and it takes us a long time to get them trapped because they'll see us trapping some and the other ones won't go in the trap. So in the meantime, while you're out there hunting these animals down, these are over here reproducing, or this one leaves this colony to go to another colony to reproduce. They move very fast. And
Right.
when you remove a colony, it's a vacuum effect. That area is open for a new colony to move in. And that's why they're not taking those cats out of Lawson Creek now, because they know that they're being dumped up there, and that I go up there twice a day, and I am on it as soon as there's something new up there. And I get it out of there, or I get it altered, vaccinated, and it's there. And then it finally gets into the colony, or I have different feeding places because it can't come into the colony that's existing. So to just go in and they used to do that at Lawson Creek. They'd go in, like I said, about every 6 months, get as many as they could out of there, but they didn't get them all out of there. So the ones that were left
Right.
were reproducing, but like I said, now I'm up there twice a day, so I stay on it.
Right, but I will acknowledge,
Oh, yeah, I agree.
because I
with
get
that,
it
sure.
from my
Yeah.
sister
Uh-huh,
on the
sure,
other
yeah,
side of the thing.
No.
When I did go back to the British Virgin Islands a couple years ago, I went out to another island, Anguilla, and Anguilla had a problem because the feral cats had pretty much decimated another, what you call invasive species, the iguanas. And they were actually breeding and raising iguanas to release. They had already done the trap, neuter, and whatever thing on Anguilla.
And they got out of hand.
But they were now breeding iguanas to get them to a size that was big enough to not be preyed on by cats. So there are problems, but I think trap, neuter, release is part of the solution, a big part of the solution.
We've had-
Right now, it's all we've got to go
We've
on.
had several people that call us and say, look, we've got 6 cats here, and they just showed up at our house. We want to get them fixed. We tell them, we say, we can't take them for you because we're not a rescue, but we'll help you with the Trap-Neuter-Return. And they're happy to have it done. The cats are done. They're altered. Their ears are tipped, and they take care of them. Yes, ma'am.
Pam, what would have happened to Ebon if we didn't save him from the garage?
You mean from
From the garage, if we hadn't done nothing?
Oh, well, he would be reproducing, and.
50
like I
times
said-
a day.
Yeah, and like I said, and a female can actually get pregnant while she's nursing kittens. And a lot of times the male will kill the kittens, so the female go back into heat, but they will go into heat while they're nursing, and a male can get off of her and keep going. And the female, once she's done, it's like one and done, she won't get pregnant again for between 9 to 13 weeks, but she can get pregnant up to 3 times a year, and they can go into heat as young as 4 months old. And, so there lies in the problem. If we can, at least stop some of it, that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna keep doing it because we know we're making a difference. And I'm not gonna stop unless I'm told to stop. And, like I said, we got permission from day one.
And then we still aren't going to stop.
Yeah, we got permission from day one for me to be up there and do that. And that's the reason they let me stay there, because they know there's only 20 up there. Because I stay in contact with foster youths, and I stay in contact with Carrie at the rec department with that. They're aware of what goes on.
I appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank
You
you.
gave us 3 good cats, and we still have them. We've had Ebon 5 years, Letty 4, and Samaji 2. And Michael said I can't handle more, but that's okay. I'm glad I got the 3
Yeah,
I
but
got.
you took care of those 3, and they'll never reproduce again. yeah.
There's some questions online. Let me
Okay.
let me get to that.
Hi, I'm really happy what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
the other thing is that you were talking about places that you can bring your animals to be spayed and neutered at low cost. You didn't mention Kinston. There is a
Riverbank, they're not
doing it
low cost
anymore?
No, they stopped doing that.
Okay.
I think that they will take one or two here and there, but you have to have an appointment ahead of time.
Yeah,
And they have to like you.
yeah. And they're not as low cost as they used to be. Yeah.
Okay, Daniel K. online says, what can individuals do in neighborhoods where no colony exists? It is believed that people drop off in our neighborhood from time to time. What can we do when shelters are full? I have had property damage, etc., from cats not neutered.
That's why.
The number one thing he needs to do, as far as TNR is concerned, is start a feeding station and get a couple of folks on his block or neighborhood to be involved and start feeding the cats so you know how many you're dealing with, and then get them used to coming at certain times a day, just like Pam goes twice a day and feeds. And then he can start trapping and taking them to a local spay-neuter clinic. He needs to research that first and make sure who can offer that service for him wherever he lives. Daniel. Yeah, wherever you live, Daniel.
This is
Danielle. Danielle.
Danielle, this is a concern, just leaving them alone. I cannot personally afford to take them for neutering.
We do a lot of fundraising on Facebook, GoFundMe, all your social media platforms. Put it out there. People will give you money.
And the neighborhood may want to get involved, and we've had, we were on Fulcher Lane, there were 45 unaltered cats, and Kim and I went in there, and the neighbors contributed because they wanted those cats altered. And so they went in, and we also did a GoFundMe for them and raised over $1,000, and we got all 45 of those cats altered within probably the summer, wasn't it? Yeah. And that's when Spay Today was open, of course. And there's two ladies on that street that are actually colony managers, and anytime a new cat shows up, they contact us. And they let us know, and then we go in, we trap it, and they give us, they pay for the spay and neuter, the neighborhood, because they wanted this under control. And there's a couple naysayers down there, but they, they've kind of worked with them.
We had one gentleman that called animal control probably 2 or 3 times a week to complain about them. And the calls have really plummeted since we got that whole avenue done. But we've gone street to street pretty much.
Yeah.
Starting on Cherry Lane.
Yeah.
And just moved over and done street by street. So,
Yeah, and Kim's working right now a lot in Fox Chase because there's a mess over there, and they'll move. They'll go from Fox Chase over to Noose Boulevard, and they'll come up and they travel, especially if they're unaltered. So Kim's been working tirelessly in Fox Chase to get it, and those people are willing to, as much as they can help, and they're so excited to see her when she comes because they know what she's doing for that area.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I first went into that neighborhood, a lot of the mobile homes that were there, the underpinning was torn. So cats were having babies underneath there, and they would die, and it would smell bad. And then we had a couple of the residents there that were feeding. And the day that I rode by, and I looked at this porch with this little Oriental Asian girl, just as cute as she could be, sitting there petting a kitten, and I looked over at the deck, and the deck was literally filled with cats. There were pregnant cats. There were non-pregnant cats. There were babies of all sizes.
Horrible.
And all nursing on each other, and it was just terrible. And the homeowner was actually crying. He did not want the cats to leave. He wanted them there, but he allowed us to take them, and then I agreed to take back what I could. Some of them did have to be euthanized. They were very sick. But
And that's what happens when you
some,
leave them.
some we were able to, get medical care for, and they got better. And it's so fun now to go back and see them. They've got that ear tip, they got a nice body, nice and filled out, and they're not sick anymore. And I don't see cats running around like I did. Now, I have had 2 litters there this year, but there's been a couple of females I haven't been able to get a hold of. So I'm on that like crazy. So anyway.
What I was going to say, if anybody would like to see copies of my work that I've done, I know it's not popular for some, but others, they may have some insights that they never realized.
I'll be happy to post it on my site.
And get in touch with those folks, or get in touch with Michael, and he'll tell me get in touch with Carolina Nature Coalition, and I'd be more than happy to send them email copies of this.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have 2 pieces of questions.
Okay.
First of all, I know that Tractor Supply and Petco and places like that I know they're kind of random, but they do have spay and neuter clinics once in a
Never had
while.
it here.
Never, no more.
No, they offer basic services like a fecal test and a vaccine and the annual thing where they check for heartworms or whatever. It's just a reduced cost package that you can purchase for an animal. It saves you a little bit of money. Plus, Bill's does that. I've got issues there. But the folks that do that clinic is the Mobile Institute, and they are excellent. They do a good job. But I think the whole purpose of having them come in and do that too is that it helps them sell product.
Of course.
But it is a little cheaper to go that route sometimes.
The second part is kind of a logistical question. When you get additions to your colony, how do you manage to trap just the ones you want?
Oh, the other ones know better. If I take a trap out of the back of my truck, you ought to see how they spread eagle. I mean, they tear in different directions. Well, now, when we were retrapping them, we used a box trap because it looks like a big old rabbit trap with the rope. And if they're not familiar with it, you can get like 5 or 6 under there at one time. And when you pull that rope and that box comes down, and that box comes down, you put a regular trap up against it, and it's got a little trap door, and you open it, and they go in there, and if we see he's got an ear chip, we're like, well, get out, until we get to the one we didn't do, because a lot of times they follow each other. But a lot of times they see that trap, and I had one that I had to euthanize because he was sick, and took me forever to trap him because he knew the trap, and then I got, like I said, the lady that feeds the colony in Bridgeton, she's a master. She came and got that cat within 3 minutes, got him in the trap, and we took him, and we had to let him go. But, if a new one comes in, they don't know the trap. And the other ones, like I said, they run. And then like the one that I just have up there, a new one, I thought for sure he was feral. And I wish I could find a home for him. I mean, I can pick him up. But I don't know if any strangers can pick him up, but he's just, I call him Baxter, and he's just the sweetest boy. But for the longest time, the colony he had to stay across the field because he'd start to come and the males would chase him. And even after I got him neutered, but now I guess he got beat in like a gang, and he's over there with them now, for some reason. I mean, thank God.
He got through initiation, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're like, okay, you're good. You're no threat to us now.
Look, I know it's not popular.
Yeah.
And I understand where you're coming from. I do. And I'm sorry if I get upset.
Yeah, me too.
But I feel like
We work so hard.
we have to do something.
Yeah.
And the other's not happening. And if we were to promote that and promote, just trap them and shoot them, that is going to be the biggest nightmare anybody has seen. I mean, really.
Especially in
Now,
this
if you
area.
do that on your own property, that's your business, but it is abuse. It is considered abuse to shoot an animal.
There is information where they consider your program to be a non-humane.
It's okay. We're going to still do it.
That's great.
But thank you. We're not going to solve your problem. You're not going to solve ours.
So-
But we're just going to keep it going because God sent me to Lawson Creek, and and I'm doing his work, and I feel I'm doing a good job. And like I said, I went from 107 down to 20, and 117 had been dumped up there since then. So you're talking, if I wasn't up there, you could have, what, 224 cats up there
It could be
reproducing.
thousands up there
Yeah.
right now.
You know, in 8 years, 8 years. So I
We've,
feel like I'm
we've
doing
done,
something.
we've
Yeah.
done Bridgeport Hotel.
Yep.
They allowed us to stay on their property. I've been
We're in
up
Lake
there
Tyler
all
right
night.
now. Meryl's in Lake Tyler helping somebody that's got cats that are over there.
Lots
they're
of
calling
places.
us to help them do this because they believe in it, you know.
And it's an ongoing problem.
Yeah,
I
oh
mean,
gosh.
we're not gonna completely solve it by just going through the whole
not going to
county and
zero
getting
anytime
everybody
soon.
done.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lifelong
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah, because somebody said to me, well, how long are you going to feed these cats up here? I said, till I die, you know, because they depend on me now, and I'm not going to abandon them like a lot of people do when they throw them out up there.
Any other
know.
questions?
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, and by the way, you're welcome to, between 8 and 9, I'm at Lawson Creek in the morning, and when it starts to get cold, I'm up there between 3:30 and 4:30. So you're welcome to come up there, and I'll introduce you to my cats and show you their shelters and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been an important discussion, you know, because there's some controversy, and it's important that we talk about it. And now I have to talk about the Carolina Nature Coalition. We are also a completely volunteer organization. We get no money from nobody except the donations from the people who like what we do. So if you like what we do, please donate. There's a donation here, and also online. If you go to our website, carolinanaturecoalition.org, there is a donation button, and you know, if you like what we do, this is one of the things, but we do very many different things. The next thing we're going to have is someone from the National Weather Service, NOAA, and he's going to talk about hurricanes and superstorms. So he will be here next month on the 20-something. But if your name is on our mailing list, and if your name is not, please put it on there, and we will send it out to you. And thank all of you here and online, and have a good evening.